We are live. It is the 10th of February, 2025, February already. Um, I'm so happy to be here with all of you. For anyone who's watching, this is a live call for the Bitcoin UX Bootcamp for South America. My name is Mo, and I will be leading the UX Bootcamp. I'd love to just do a very quick round of introductions. I know it's the third time you guys are introducing yourselves, but this is going to go live on YouTube and you will go back and you'll see all the memories of everything where it started. So, you know, so my name is Mogeshni. You can call me Mo. I will be leading the boot camp and I will be the one who will be training you there in Florianopolis. I don't like to call it training because I believe that I am just supporting you with tools that you can use to become better at what you're already doing. So I don't see it as being a training. I don't see myself as being a teacher. I see myself as a facilitator. I'm originally from South Africa and I'm a Bitcoin UX designer and researcher, and I lean more on the research side. The most important thing for me when building products at the moment in this ecosystem is that we're building products for real people and real use cases. And I look forward to watch all of you on your journeys and support you. I will hand the baton over to Liga to do her introduction. So hand over the baton to whoever you want.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. I'm Ligia. I'm originally from São Paulo, Brazil. Marketer by trade, but turned recently into UI UX designer. Super excited to be here. Sorry, Mo, do I have to say anything else?
No,
Just that.
totally up
Okay.
to you. All yours.
I will pass it over to Erica.
Hey, we think you're
We
muted.
can't hear you. You are muted.
Hello, hello.
I think you are muted, Eric.
Okay, so I'll pass it over to somebody else while Erica, you can try to figure out the microphone. So I'll pass it over to Joaquin.
All right. While Erica figures out the microphone thing, I'm super excited to be here. I'm a web developer originally from Chile, and I'm excited about a bunch of things. One of them being Brazil, a country I haven't yet gotten the chance to know, and then being it all focused on Bitcoin makes me super, super happy because it's one of those things that I want to get into the most I can and learn as much as I can from people who are already working in the industry. So, yeah, grateful to be here. And I'll pass it over to Erica if her microphone's working. No.
So we saw the unmute thing disappear from your name, but we
Yeah.
still can't hear you.
All right, I'll pass it over to Steven in the meanwhile.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to take over there. Hey, I'm Steven. I'm be helping out Mo with this program here. I'm currently a product designer at Voltage and used to work on the Bitcoin Design Guide under a Spiral grant. Excited to check out Brazil. Never been before, so it'll be great to visit. And are we supposed to say what we're excited about? Is that part of this?
Totally.
This
Go
thing
ahead.
now?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Bitcoin usernames. BIP353. That's what I'm speaking about at Bitcoin Plus Plus. So really pumped for stuff like BIP353. So, anyways, look forward to getting to know everybody during the course of this program. I'll popcorn over to um, uh, Augustine. Has he gone yet?
Okay, yeah. Hello, I'm Satoshi Nakamoto. Yeah. I'm Agustin. I'm from Santa Fe, Argentina. I really, as you mentioned, I'm really also excited about all these trip that we are starting together. Well, I'm a designer. Then I become I start learning code but mostly with the front end UI. Um, yeah, and yeah, actually, I am working with several projects, like mostly in the Ethereum ecosystem. I made some contribution to the Bitcoin ecosystem and the open source, like swim by. It was one of them. But yeah, really exciting and nice to meet you all together. And yeah, I will pass to Rubens, because I really like your bike in the background.
Nice. It's a speed bike. I like it. I like to
Me too.
race. Well, my name is Rubens. I am a designer. I studied industrial designing in Brazil, and I started working as a web designer back in 1999. And since then, I'm working as illustrator, graphic designer, and I'm really excited to participate in the bootcamp and learn more about the UX designing Bitcoin system, the ecosystem of the UX design in Bitcoin. And I think that's it. um, who is next?
Who you decide.
Okay, go to Thiago.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Thiago. I'm from Brazil, and I work as a product designer over 2 years at BIPA. I think who is Brazilians maybe know we are a digital bank integrated with Bitcoin and Lightning Network, and working here. My work out here is make the on ramps for Brazilian people get their first sets easily, uh, more easily, and I had some contributions over the community, like at the Seed Signers, Bitcoin Clubs on Brazil, and other stuff. So I'm so excited to get here with a lot of good designers, and I think we can do uh, something very cool together. So go ahead, Laura.
Anyway, nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Laura. I have 24 years old. I live in Recife, Brazil. It's northeast of Brazil, and I'm a designer. Currently, I'm working in web design, but I also do some UX freelances, and I'm really into entering the tech area more and more. I really like to study. And actually, I was studying UX in banks, in digital banks and fintechs. But when my friend invited me to be part of the SatsConf in São Paulo, I discovered the Bitcoin world. It was like 3 4 months ago. I didn't know anything about Bitcoin, and I started studying to do something for the hackathon, and we got second place in general and first in design. So I started studying. I'm still very new to the field, and I probably know less about Bitcoin than everyone here, but I think it's very interesting and a powerful. I don't know how to call it. It's not a tool. I don't know how to say, but like really powerful. And I know that it probably will be the most stable money in the future. So, anyways, nice to meet you all.
Who would you like to hand it over to, Laura?
Yeah, sorry. Who didn't spoke correct? Erica?
Yeah, I want to try if it works now.
Yeah, it works.
Perfect. Yeah, my Bluetooth was connected. Sorry. Okay, so my name is Erika. Thank you. I am photographer, and I started the last months to learning about development UX UI. So it's my first experience in this ecosystem, maybe I can say. So I'm really excited to this opportunity, and learning about bitcoins is like a lot of information. So it was like the last week was really intense, but nice to know about it. So thank you for this. And maybe the next, Mariana.
Hi everyone. Well, seeing you like that, your faces, I feel a little nervous because in the writing is easy to introduce myself. But I am actually I am first an artist, and then I am a graphic designer, and then I started to work with UI UX design in a DAO. Decentralized autonomous organization that is focused in Web3 projects. So I've been working with blockchain, and since there is 3 years about, and I am happy to be here with you, anxious about the boot camp. And yeah, that's it. So let me see. Emilia, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Emilia. I am from Mendoza, Argentina, that is next to Chile. I first studied sociology and communications in different parts, and then I started to work in digital marketing till Mercado Libre, that it's like the Amazon in Latin America, started to grow in Latin America, and I entered as a content designer to Mercado Libre, where I worked mostly in security and in transfers. And then I worked for Kavak, and now I'm working for Despegar, that is known as Decolar in Brazil. And yeah, I'm very excited about this. I think it's very interesting how you build the team more, like the different backgrounds that we are having here. And also, I'm excited about how are we going to onboard people in trying to make easy something complex. So I don't know. We will find it out in 10 days. And I will pass the ball to, I don't know, Eric, if you already spoken.
No, not yet. Hey everyone, my name's Eric. I'm a UX designer. I work a lot on eCash, which is a implementation, which is a mechanism on Bitcoin that lets you send Bitcoin kind of like physical cash. I worked on the eCash section of the Bitcoin Design Guide, and I'm also a Bitcoin Design Foundation grantee. So I received some funding to kind of help contribute to some open source eCash implementations on top of Bitcoin, specifically Cashew, which is one of two. You might have heard of it. Cashew or Fedimint are the two big ones. I won't be attending this conference. I wish I could, but I'll be cheering you guys on online and keeping up with what you're doing. So yeah.
Thank you. I don't know if we had Lucas. Did we have, I don't feel like, did we have Lucas? I don't think so. Is your mic
See
working,
him at the
Lucas?
bottom.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I'm Lucas, 23 years old. I'm from Brasilia, capital of Brazil. I have 7 years of experience creating design solutions as a UX designer and a software developer, actually. And I'm excited about the big Bitcoin ecosystem. I see that there's a lot of room to improvements, and we're still early, and I'm happy to be a part of that. And I'm excited about to so excited to provide more accessible experiences. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous.
It's okay. It's perfectly fine.
There's a lot of people to talk. So yeah, I want to see more solutions for people with disabilities, seniors, and individuals with low literacy. And yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Lucas. So, as you can see, as Emilia pointed out, there's a very diverse group of people here, starting from product managers to Erica, who comes from a photography background, to developer backgrounds, to UX designers, to graphic designers turn UX designers. We have everything across the board. And that's very intentional because I really believe that we need to bring more diversity in how we view these applications and not only view it from one viewpoint. So each of you were chosen to bring these different viewpoints to the table. And I know with these viewpoints, we will create a lot of diversity and we will reach consensus, and sometimes we won't, and that's all perfectly fine. And I'm being a woman in this ecosystem. For me personally, it's been very lonely working as a female in this ecosystem. There are not a lot of women who work in the Bitcoin space. So I was very intentional with making sure that we brought some strong women into this boot camp as well. So I'm very happy to see all of you here, and I'm happy to see how I'm excited to see how the male energy and the female energy together are going to create these solutions. So I'm very grateful for all of you here for showing up. I have to say, with regards to Eric and Stephen, they were very humble in their introductions. I will just say that Eric is an extremely experienced UX designer who's extremely passionate about what he's doing. And he's doing a lot of good work in his niche. He's in a very deep niche. At the Bitcoin Design Foundation, we're very grateful to have him as a grantee. So he was extremely humble in his introduction. And as for Stephen Delorme, he was even more humble because I have seen him designing in Figma before, and I just felt like my brain was short circuiting because what takes Stephen Delorme 30 minutes to do takes me 3 hours. So don't worry about having various skill sets over here. Every single skill set that you have and what you bring to the table is unique, and it's perfectly okay. So just because someone here in the bootcamp might have 6 years UX design experience, it doesn't mean that because you have less experience that the way you view things is not right. We need these different viewpoints in this. And Augustine is sending a link as well. Let's see.
Yes, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but
No, go
no,
ahead.
no, you were talking about the participation on the or the equal participation on the crypto ecosystem, and I want to share this community. It's from Argentina, but as I know, I think it's over all Latam, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But just that, sorry.
Yeah, no, totally fine. So Stephen Delorme will be there. He's not only speaking at the conference, but he's also going to be in the room supporting you, supporting us, answering any questions. I'm super grateful to have him there. Who knows? Maybe next year we'll have Eric. Who knows? And Papersack, who's also here on the call, he's been helping. Papersack, I don't know if you want to say hi, but he's been helping a lot with the design side. And he's been the one putting together all of the materials for you. So Papersack, do you also want to say hi?
Sure. Hello. Um,
Hi.
one second.
It's okay. Yeah, he's been extremely helpful. He just jumped in at the tail end and started helping out. Go ahead, Papersack.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. Really nice to see you all. From like, except the pictures that I was editing of all you guys. But yeah, I'm Paper. I work with Bitshala and the Bitcoin Design Foundation. For the Bitcoin Design Foundation, I'm helping with the design, as they said, and for Bitshala, I'm the events guy, helping do events and everything in India at Bitspace. I'm at Bitspace right now, so yeah, uh, really excited for you all for the boot camp and everything.
Cool. Thank you, Papersack. So
Thanks
just
for editing our pic on X. That was cool.
So just so you are, this boot camp is going to be done as a hands-on learn as you go. So we will have 2 full days together, but the amount of talking and teaching that I'll be doing in the 2 days is probably around 1 to 2 hours maximum. That is the amount of talking I'll be doing. The rest is going to be you guys getting really hands-on and getting into stuff and learning as you're going along. So this is not like going to be spoon feed, here's the information. You've done some pre-foundational reading now, and we'll dive into that in a bit, but this is very much hands-on because each of you already have experience. So there's no need to teach you in a traditional classroom setting, because I believe you can learn the most by doing. At least that's how it was for me. So in this first call, we'll just really talk very briefly about how it was going through the learning materials for you. We're already 20 minutes in, so we'll do that for the next 30 minutes. And Stephen and Eric, who are currently in the Bitcoin space and also paper psych, feel free to jump in, and everyone feel free to jump in. This is working in open source Bitcoin is having a very flat um, system. There is no hierarchy here. We all try to treat each other as equals. So I fully believe that I'm looking forward to learning from all of you as well. You're not only going to be learning from me and Stephen. So that's how I'd like to approach things. And then the next call we'll have is very much based on the logistics call. I think that call's on Wednesday off the top of my head. That's just focused on, showing you, okay, you'll be staying here, you'll be picked up at the airport here, just to make sure that you feel that you have all the information you need before you fly. And if there's any questions you have, you can ask it on that call as well. And if I'm not able to answer it, then I'll ask Kaka and Carol, who are on the ground. Another thing about me is, and I share this with Stephen as well, is I love dancing. I'm from South Africa. Music is very important to me. In the African boot camp, we actually kicked off the boot camp with some African music. So what we will be doing at the South American boot camp is we will stand in the middle of the classroom and we will do about 5 minutes of dancing to loosen ourselves up, because we work hard and we play hard and we keep everything relaxed. Okay. So this is how I like to do things. So at any moment, I just feel the vibes in the room, and if I feel you guys look like you're falling asleep, I'll just be like, yay, let's go do some dancing, and we'll just turn some music on. So yeah, it's not all about work over here as well. We're also human. So how has it been for you, Stephen Delorme? Yeah, Stephen Delorme's gonna dance. He was with me in Barcelona a few years ago, and I was the only one dancing. So, but he just recently told me that he's moving into the dancing scene as well. So I hope he will be joining us. So, how has it been for you, ladies and gentlemen, going through the materials? Because I definitely understand that for some of you, this was the first exposure to even Bitcoin principles, like certain things. And I want you to know that there's no need to feel intimidated if there's something that you didn't understand. When I joined this ecosystem, I think about 4 years ago, and I jumped on the first call for Bitcoin Core app. In full transparency, I thought that they were speaking a different language and they were not speaking English. So please, feel free if you didn't understand something, if it was like completely confusing for you, don't worry, everything's okay. So how was it for everyone going through those reading materials and being exposed to UX for Bitcoin for the first time? Whoever wants to begin, please go ahead.
I would say that it was refreshing to, you know, discuss about some things I thought I knew, but then thinking about them, it took me 2 hours at a time to answer a question. And I was like, wow, uh, it's so much deeper. And that happened to me with Lightning Network, especially because I thought I knew how it works, and then I realized I have no idea how it actually, works. Um, and then the same with UX, and the same with, you know um, collective, like working in a collective way. So yeah, it was refreshing, it was helpful to think about these things in the discussions.
Yeah, I'll second that. And I'll add that for me, it was particularly difficult to put it in words Like similar to Joaquin, I think I kind of knew how to answer some of the questions, but again, writing like a concise and very clear sentence answering those questions was very, very, very challenging.
Uh, I read out.
Would anyone else like to share? I can hear someone's mic. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I think Ruben's trying to speak, but there's a little connection icon, like the network connection is dropping.
All right. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, he dropped.
Okay, I can continue. I have a comment, but also a question. Sorry, but I really make a lot of questions, so I would like to apologize in advance. Um, I think it's extremely complex, and while I was answering the questions and reading, that of course I have more questions about how it works and everything. I was wondering, but what is the which information is the important one to give to the user, and which we can exclude, because the user doesn't have to understand fully everything. It's too complex. So I was wondering if any of you have any data about this, about like funnels or how it works, or if there is any information with the user perspective.
Uh, Me too. I will really like to read those and see your project to people who already work with designing for Bitcoin. But what I was going to say is that my questions and things that I was wondering probably is something that you who started years ago or questioned yourself too, because when we do UX design for traditional uh, not just banks but everything, we have like uh, some patterns that you should always follow, like I'm gonna say like the most obvious forgot password or something like that. And I was wondering like how you can do, like how can you not prejudice the usability but also follow the Bitcoin logic, because it has self custody, but you cannot prejudice usability too. How can you help the user but not take its own responsibility? That's what I was wondering.
Eric or Stephen, would you like to take that?
Yeah, I have some insights. To the first question about how much do you show to the user and what kind of language do you use, what do you hide or what do you abstract away? What I found is that I know it's like a meme, but the answer is really it depends, because I can cite from my personal experience. I've in the past I've contributed to two different eCash wallets. One was designed to be a powerhouse for very technical, very savvy Bitcoin Lightning users. That one is called cashew.me. And then the other one was called enuts. And this one was very much designed to be very soft and very friendly. And the target user was maybe somebody who is not a Bitcoin wizard, somebody who is not someone who uses a lot of Bitcoin apps. So what I showed and the language that I use varies way differently depending on those two apps. Even just the way that information is presented. So it's not just language, but as an example, with enuts, I a lot of the design was heavily influenced by like what are called bottom sheets, which for mobile apps, if you guys are familiar with like iOS, it's those things that slide from the bottom and give the user additional context, and they're usually only a couple sentences long. I For enuts, I relied heavily on those because I realized that when I use an Apple device or some iOS apps, that very like bottom act of it sliding up from the bottom and giving you context and giving you only one of two options, that's very nice. It's not very overwhelming. So I thought that convention fit really well for that particular wallet. But when it comes to maybe more advanced wallets like cashew.me, which is more for the powerhouse user, I don't really use too many of those. It's a lot of kind of input fields in very direct information because the people that use this want the advanced features. And the language that I use just really depends on who your user is. So my advice is to look at a parallel of, it doesn't have to be only in Bitcoin, but it could be in a adjacent industry. So for the eNut stuff, I looked at Cash App, which is designed to be an easy to use kind of money transfer app, kind of like Revolut. I'm sure there's probably something comparable in Latin America. So I looked a lot at that and saw what they were doing, because, you know, depending on the audience, it might be similar. There was another second point about like design conventions, because in the UX world, there's a lot of already established design conventions, and I'm sure you guys are kind of familiar with them. Nielsen Norman Group. When I have a lot of questions, I consult that website about what's the best way to handle, you know, accordions, and if I want to put an input action in an accordion, is that good UX? Is that bad UX? People have already kind of thought about these more common questions, and Nielsen Norman Group in particular is a good resource for that. So as much as possible, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. I think this just applies not just to Bitcoin, but to any digital design in general. You want to try to follow conventions. But with that said, Bitcoin is kind of unique, because one of the core central things behind this protocol that we work on is the idea that the individual should always have control. So a lot of the times that means that we have to sacrifice ease of use, sacrifice simplicity, and give people kind of the extra options, which are usually, in my experience, one of the hardest things is this idea of like privacy by default. It's very easy and it's almost encouraged in a lot of other apps to abstract away complexities of what's happening behind the scene. But with Bitcoin, you can do that and make a better user experience, but you're also running the risk of potentially hiding or not showing the user all the information that they may need or want to know. So juggling that is kind of an eternal challenge with Bitcoin. And I don't have necessarily a direct answer for that. It's just be aware. I would just say just be aware about some of the principles that people find really important to Bitcoin, and some of the things that people kind of expect when they use Bitcoin apps, and try to balance them as best as you can with established conventions. So that's a very long-winded answer. I'll pass it off to Stephen if there's anything he wants to add. But I see that, Laura, you have a question as well.
No, it's not a question, just a comment of what you said. First of all, thank you. Thank you. Your answer was very complete and very interesting. Gave me a lot of more questions, but I'm not going to make them now. I was just going to say that that reminds me of some ways game design, because you have to think how you can help the usability, but without prejudicing the experience that is not made to be always easy.
I'd like to jump in and answer Emilia's question from the research perspective. I lean more on the research side, and everything that I'm involved with, I'm reminding them and asking the question: Who are we building for? What do they need? What are their use cases? And that's where I begin in any project that I enter into or that I'm involved in. And this boot camp that we're doing at the moment, there are a lot of South American UX designers. There's a lot of talent in South America, but the number of Bitcoin South American UX designers, I think, is even less. It's possible that we just have Tiago here on this call. I don't know. Like, that's it. So we need to bring more Bitcoin UX designers into South America to work with these projects, to understand the use cases in South America, and then to bring this research forward so that we can understand. And this has not been done yet. We are at the bottom of the mountain now. So yeah, just to give you some insight, there's not enough research done geographically, and there's not enough applications that are being built that are very use case specific, and I would love to see more of that. So yeah, would anyone else like to jump in?
I'll very quickly chime in with, or just to kind of cap off responses to those. The first question you asked about data, research, and all of that. There's plenty of research done on Bitcoin, crypto, stuff like that. It's not always, it's kind of distributed around the internet. There is a page in the Bitcoin Design Guide that I'm putting in the chat that does link to a lot of research that's been done. Unfortunately, I think the most recent one is several years old, so there's definitely a gap and a need there. To the second part of that question about like, well, the technology is complicated, how much do we need to explain to people? I lean on the opinion of explain as little as possible. Just let it be magical, let it just work. I think about it in terms of um, let's just reveal enough information to where somebody can make a good decision. Um, in other words, like, uh, if somebody is not able to access their seed phrase, well, maybe we're preventing them from backing up their wallet, right? We don't need to explain all the technical details of how this backup process works. We just need to make sure that they have the information that they need to recover at a later date. So I think of just in terms of yeah, giving them just enough information to be able to make a good decision. And I think that when you look at products like Signal, private encrypted messaging app, there's some things they don't let you do in their product. They actually will not let you touch your key because they're worried that if you try to download a copy of your key, you're going to accidentally leak your privacy. And they very tightly control how you back up your signal from your old phone to your new phone. They make you scan a QR code from the old device to the new device. They will not put the user in a situation where they are risking their privacy. So they're very, very incredibly opinionated. They don't explain to you how encryption works. They don't explain to you how digital privacy works. They very clearly they guide you in a way to where you kind of can't, the user cannot mess it up. So I think those kind of opinionated user experiences are actually fine. And as long as there's the powerhouse applications for the developers and the really real power users who want to use that stuff, I think that's totally fine. There needs to be these powerhouse applications, but there also needs to be these very opinionated user experiences that kind of prevent the user from shooting themselves in the foot.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Just complement the comments like Deepa. The focus of the users is the simplicity. So like we are a custodial wallet, so because of that we don't need to put all of the technical stuffs on the screens, like a lot of options and a lot of information. But something that we do at the company uh, is like take the complexity in other ways, like in the blog posts or educational ways. So in the user experience is so simply it's so simple, it's so like a payment with light network sounds like magic, but we take some ways to the user understand more the technological way. So I think it's a very good point.
Mariana.
Yeah. Based on my experience with blockchain, for you to keep in mind, when we are talking about blockchain, everyone is pretending understand. So not understanding everything, but just kidding. I am now working in NFT marketplace of NFTs, and I have a few experience with our users. So it's exactly like what Mo said. The first and the main question is for who we are designing, and the main thing is to keep in the screen and to keep in the screen the things that the user needs to realize to make the main action that we want. So this is the principle.
Thank you. Has everyone shared what they've felt they've needed to share? How was it? Because I know there's pretty much Tiago here who's had some exposure to Bitcoin. So I know all of these principles were new for you. Were there any one question in particular? Because, we moved through the questions. Why is Bitcoin unique? Why design for Bitcoin? Um, just from those two questions, I'll just start with day one, with why Bitcoin is unique, why design for Bitcoin. Lija pointed out very well that it was very difficult to make a succinct answer to these questions. We intentionally kept a lot of these questions very open to allow very long responses. And indeed, Lydia felt correctly when she was answering the questions that it's very difficult to answer the question with a very short answer, because we kind of also created it knowing we were going to have a call at the tail end here of the questions. So when we go into those two questions, why is Bitcoin unique? Why design for Bitcoin? Would anyone like to share, on any one of those two questions, something that they found interesting? If you can remember, all great. If you don't remember, also fine. You know, if you need to take some time to read your answers, also fine. I know this was 1 week. It was like 5 days ago. I know.
I didn't answer the question, but I can give you my why I designed for Bitcoin, if
Go
that'll start the juices. For starters, it's to me, it's simple. I think it's interesting technology. I think it's cool. The idea that you could just transfer money to anyone across the internet without anyone's permission is really cool. And another one is that it feels to me like it's a very big project in scope. It's a very ambitious thing. If you just step away from the idea that I'm designing a wallet or I'm designing one, application, it's that you are part of like a larger, just it's like the photo of like that machine that holds up the internet infrastructure and like all the stuff at the bottom. If you think about like the Bitcoin space, like whatever you're designing is just like one small piece in this very grand kind of human scale experiment. So it's this protocol that if it works, it has the potential to affect how people interact with money all over the world. And to have the ability to design and do things at this kind of early stage where it's potentially taking off, to me, that's a very cool place to spend your time. I feel very rewarded spending my time in kind of this type of project. It fuels me. I wake up excited to do it. So I'm kind of deeply motivated to it. And there's a lot of room for really good design experiences because Bitcoin has been, for the last 15 years, it's been very engineer heavy. And I think that's like the nature of technology or a protocol that is very, very serious and kind of being bootstrapped, is that it leads with the engineering. But now that it's a little bit more mature, we're getting to the point where design is playing more of an important role. And more people are using it. People are starting to see the value of design. So it's a project where you, as an individual designer, you have the potential to make a very, very huge impact if you work on an application that is really, really well designed. So that to me is really exciting, is having that opportunity. In a lot of other places, that doesn't really exist. If you're like in designing for streaming music or whatever the case may be, there's already kind of giants there, and that space is kind of settled. Yeah, but Bitcoin feels like magic. It's like magic internet money, as they say.
Thank you so much, Eric. You can hear his passion, right? See, there we go. Rubens, go ahead.
Yes, like I agree with what Eric said. I think the Bitcoin system is still very young. So to design, especially to UX design, we have a lot of room to improve. And it's a different than you start, than you begin in other places, like, I don't know, banks or whatever. It's already established. But in Bitcoin, we have some creative freedom for the nature of Bitcoin, for being open source. You have a lot of room to improve, to try new things. And in the end, the community will say what is good, what is bad. And I think the best thing for Bitcoin UX now is because it's new, it's young. I feel excited uh, working on it, thinking about it, and that's it.
I wanted to say something about a question that I had a hard time answering, and it's the one on open design, because it probably has to do with my lack of experience doing proper UX design. Because working as a freelance web developer, you don't even have the time to think that. I mean, you're always thinking about the user, and it's all user based. But at the end of the day, it's either the client likes it or he doesn't, and I don't get to test the product. Um, so I was left with more questions than answers on the open design part. Like, how does it actually work? How does Eric or somebody who's working with the foundation produce some work and then get feedback on it and then iterate on it and test it? So it's, I feel like for me it's hard at this point to understand the um, practical side of how to do open design, how to work in a DAO-ish system. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Thank
want
you
to
for the
comment on
question.
that real quick.
There
Oh,
we go. I was going to hand it over to one of you anyway. I was like, Stephen, Eric, let's go.
well, one thing I wanted to do first is just kind of separate two concepts there, because I actually think that Mo and Eric could speak more to the open design stuff. I mean, I definitely have experience in open design, but I'm more, been doing startup life for the past 2 years. But you brought up something like you said, I give, my work to the client, and then the client approves it, and then I never hear back if the user, liked it or not. So I want to separate out the concept of open design and like user research, user feedback, all of these things. Like, I think that's a whole business process, that you can kind of do that right or do that wrong, whether the design process is closed or open. Um, that this whole idea of like I'm going to make something, I'm going to put it in front of a user, I'm going to get feedback, I'm going to iterate based on their feedback, or maybe I'm going to do like focus groups or whatever that process looks like. That whole business process of um, actually putting the work in front of users and actually making sure that it's solving a problem for them. Um, there are some businesses that do that really, really well, and then there's some businesses who just don't do that at all and completely fail at that. Similarly, open design, you can also have a design process that's not part of a business, or a design process that's out in the open that allows contributors and feedback from many people. And that open design process can also similarly fail at actually getting feedback from real users, or it can also succeed at doing that. So I just wanted to kind of separate those concepts out. The whole concept of UX research and user feedback can exist in a closed design process or an open design process.
Very good answer from Stephen. Eric, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I guess some thoughts on the world of open design and how you the question was like how do you deal with like getting user feedback in a more processed way? Is that
Right. And how does it work on the practical side,
Hmm.
it not being such a hierarchical system?
Yeah, got it. So I think like a truth that I've uncovered in design in general is that when I started, this idea of like design thinking or the design process was drilled in my head, especially at school and especially on like YouTube tutorials and stuff. But when I actually started working both in the private kind of tech startup world and also in the open source world, I realized that the design process is never linear like you're taught. It's really messy. And oftentimes you're actually skipping steps and you're going back and forth. And sometimes you make wrong decisions and you skip steps that you shouldn't have because of limitations of whatever reasons. So I've learned to actually embrace this more this less rigid, more unstructured design process. And I acknowledge that it actually is very messy, and you're kind of bouncing uh, between a lot of steps. In terms of open design for Bitcoin, one thing that is both a blessing and a curse that I've experienced is that the people that are really into using Bitcoin are enthusiasts. You can find, and the people, I should say, the people that you interact with online on like Bitcoin Twitter or Nostr or wherever you find Bitcoiners, they tend to be very enthusiastic. They tend to be hobbyists to the point where they're very happy to use your product and give you feedback. And they'll often do it for free if you just ask. And that's great. But one of the curses of that is that because they're hobbyists and because they're enthusiasts, they bring a perspective that isn't always reflective of the average regular user. Because the type of person that is on Bitcoin social networks and testing new apps and participating in this community every day is not reflective of a normal person. If you think about how do you interact with just regular pieces of software in your life, maybe we all use VPNs, for example, but none of us ever go to a VPN conference, or we're not on VPN Twitter hearing about the latest VPN that's doing, advanced packet routing, and you can download that software and play with the advanced VPN settings, and they're doing this differently or whatever. We don't care. We don't know about that. And so one of the things that I have to be aware of is that a lot of the times when first, how do I get feedback in open design? I just post online on Twitter and on Nostr, and I get a bunch of people that give me feedback on the designs that I'm working. I'll often literally work on something tonight and I'll post it. I'll be like, hey guys, I'm working on this flow, trying to achieve this thing on this app. What do you guys think? Here's A, here's B. And people will usually chime in. But I also have that caveat in my head for the reasons that I just mentioned, are that these people are enthusiasts. And that's not to say that their opinion is to be discounted or invalidated. It's just that I should have an understanding that what I'm getting is just a subset of user feedback. And it's not going to be very reflective of people who are not Bitcoin enthusiasts. And I often, unfortunately, don't meet the non-Bitcoin enthusiasts in the line of work. It's just the nature of the fact that I work on a very niche beta protocol called eCash. And most people that are using this are enthusiasts, they're hobbyists. So at best, sometimes when I'm in person, I'll onboard a Bitcoin newbie to the first time and I'll have them run through my application and I'll get feedback. That's always a big blessing. But sometimes you just don't have it and you just have to do your best to just ship what you think is best. And then when people start using it, they'll give you feedback. Of course, there's room for better user research, a more structured process, a way to go out and actively get this feedback and organize the biases in different user groups. But I kind of like to Stephen point, sometimes I fail at that. And I'm aware that in my own design process, I'm, not doing the best job that I could at that.
And I'll just tag off what Eric said to answer your question in one sentence. It's like spaghetti. So any different any project that I've joined in on, and I've when I'm trying to incorporate the user feedback in this open design system, every team or every project that you will work at will be at a different level of how much of user feedback they're willing to incorporate into the project, whether there's time for it. Sometimes they'll just ship, they will build the MVP based on the specs that the team has come up with together, and then they'll ship. And then after the MVP is built, then they'll do user feedback. Sometimes there's time to build in part of user feedback somewhere along, but it's like spaghetti. And in how I've noticed, at least, it is feeling very intuitively, who can I now ask for feedback? And because I will have built up, I know Eric probably has the same, a network of people. Yeah, a network of people within the ecosystem. Sometimes I'll just message someone on Discord. I'll be like, hey, do you have half an hour? But as Eric mentioned, this is from a group of people who are extremely passionate. So they'll be like, tell me, like, I'm there for you. But we need to also access the other group of people